Now, when I work with singers, I try to bridge that gap between just singing the notes and singing with expression. Because a lot of the singers I work with have perfectly expressive speaking voices, but the minute they sing, it becomes stiff and formal, as though there's one proper way to sing. But it's not very interesting because it's one-dimensional. It doesn't communicate, and so the audience loses interest. So this technique is one way to develop a more expressive singing voice. Hi, I'm Scott. You're watching Inside Musicals, the channel for all things musical theatre. Now, there are a lot of ways to develop a more expressive singing voice, but I've never heard anyone talk about this technique before, and that is through the breath. And what is the breath? It's the bellows that powers the voice, right? Wrong! I mean, yes, it's right. But what if it could be more than that? What if it was an expressive tool in its own right, rather than just a technical necessity? What if it was a feature rather than a footnote? Because typically most of us are taught to breathe silently, efficiently, through the mouth so we don't draw attention to it. But singing is acting. That's not always how a character breathes. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's ugly. It's part of their body language. And the way that they breathe conveys as much meaning as the words they say. So if you can blend both of them, doesn't it make sense to use both? Because the breath could be slow and savouring. This is the thing. It could be urgent. This is the thing. Or it could keep us waiting. This is the thing. Exactly the same phrase, but the breath conveys an idea that carries over into the singing. And that's another problem I see, because some people can act perfectly well while they're singing, but they don't know what to do with themselves between phrases, or if somebody else has a line. So the breath can be that link, and we'll come back to that. Yeah, an audio engineer for Barbra Streisand once edited out all her mouth sounds and breath noises from one of her albums. And this is quite common in a lot of pop music or voiceovers where the vocal is compressed. And she was furious because she said, "It's part of my performance," which is true. And to that I'd add that the breath is part of the energy of the vocal, or at least can be. On the other hand, if we only focus on character, we can compromise the singing voice if the breath is too shallow or unsupported or forced. So performance is always that trade-off between technique and communication, between stylization and authenticity. So here's the process. First we ask, how much breath do I need to support the phrase, and how long do I have to take it? Because that might determine whether it's slow or fast. Then we ask, well, how can that be an extension of my acting choice? Or how can I make a different acting choice to support the technique I need? It can work both ways. Now, it's all very well to say, breathe expressively. What does that even mean? Because that could be a whole acting course just in itself. So I'm going to give you some examples of breathing so you can start thinking about the possibilities and how they apply to you. And I'll use exactly the same musical phrase, so the only thing that changes is the breath, and you can compare how it influences the phrase that follows. So the breath could be long. This is the thing. Or short. This is the thing. We can think of the breath as coming late, flowing into the phrase like we've just seen, or it could come early, followed by a pause. This is the thing. And it could be relatively silent or distinctly audible. And if it's audible, it could be voiceless. This is the thing. Or voiced. This is the thing. Now these are all breathing through the mouth, like we're taught, but you can breathe through the nose as well. This is the thing. Or, this is the thing. And it doesn't have to be smooth and even. It could be staggered. This is the thing. Or, this is the thing. And it could build on the thought. This is the thing. This is the thing. Or seem like a new idea. This is the thing. This is the thing. See how it becomes a feature, a springboard into expression? Because even if the vocal doesn't change, the sound of the breath changes the way we perceive it. Although invariably, the energy of the breath changes the energy of the vocal that follows. So, some tips. Number one. Now, some of the breaths you heard might imply surprise, urgency, indignance, impatience, judgment, excitement. But breath alone can be interpreted in any number of ways. It's all about the context. So make sure you're specific. Number two, Don't plan every breath in the song. Find a few key moments where it's most effective and let the rest of the song take care of itself. Number 3. Now, if you find yourself dropping out of character between phrases or just cruising on neutral when someone else has a line, think about the kind of breath you could be using that keeps you active in that moment, keeps you present to the drama. Because so many acting techniques are based on the impulse from the breath, because it's physical, it's something you can do, and something the audience can see and feel. Number 4, and because breath is the preparation for the voice, it can subliminally suggest the thought behind the idea. So the audience feels privy to our innermost thoughts before they happen, kind of like my technique for gesture in the JUDY method, which I'll link below. So make sure there's meaning in the breath. And this is especially important when you're recording vocals, because the audience doesn't get to see your face or your gestures, it's all in the sound. So have a listen to Paige O'Hara singing Belle in the original Beauty and the Beast, and notice how much character is in the voice. There's warmth and smile and longing, and every moment sounds active. Contrast this with Ansel Elgort singing Tony in Spielberg's West Side Story. And it's not that he's bad, he's not. He has a beautiful tone, he can sing all the notes, but when you just listen, there's not much else going on. So he doesn't sound like an experienced singer. And the others are all just so good at making singing sound as natural as talking that by comparison, he sounds overly careful, like he's singing the music at the expense of the drama. And it's a really subtle distinction, but it can make the difference between an audience connecting or not. And this kind of expressive breathing is just one tool in our arsenal. But if you try this tip, let me know what you're singing and how it makes a difference for you. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I wish you very expressive singing. And I'll see you in the next video. Of course, I do love you. That much I know.